Here we go, one more installment with If the Beasts Were Real, where I take mythical creatures and try to break them down from a veterinarian's perspective, determining whether or not they could even exist without magic intervention. This week we're doing centaurs. I didn't go too far back in the mythology for this one. I'm a Greek myth buff, and I have been for a lot of years, so I know a fair bit about them already. But for those who don't, they are bottom half of a horse. Yes, the four legs of the body of a horse, and in place of the head, you have a torso of a human. Generally speaking, male, and I'll come to that later. Now, they're typically depicted as best as omnivores. In fact, in some of the earlier things, they're actually carnivores, eating red meat, and particularly uncooked red meat. They are incredibly uncouth. In general, this probably means, from a veterinarian's perspective, they're going to have an omnivore's GI tract. Now, horses are hindgut fermenters, but centaurs will lack the proper dentition at the front to properly process grains, and if they are going to eat red meat like the original source material, you're going to need a different bacteria flora than if you have a hindgut digestive tract. So I'm going to assume it's a human digestive tract. Hello, Levi. Cardiovascular got my attention, though, because where's the heart? Is the heart in the chest, or is it in the horse half? And I'm going to argue that it's going to have to be in the horse half, and that's because a human heart lacks the capacity to move that much blood around. Heck, horse hearts have a bit of trouble with getting the blood all the way to the extremities sometimes. So, big heart. Now, lungs, I'm a little on the fence about, because it could be in either locations. And I say that because while a horse needs a lot more lungs, a lot more space on their lungs to be able to be as athletic as they are, the nostrils on a human are going to limit the airflow in the first place. So bigger lungs aren't going to do you much good if you have kind of a choke point at the front. I would argue that while a centaur is probably more athletic than a human is and probably can run faster, they're nowhere near as fast or as athletic as an actual horse when it comes to a flat run. Now, I have never heard of a female centaur, but at some point we're going to have to assume that they exist, or at least they have to reproduce somehow. That said, I have this terrible image in my head of, you know how horses can run at a very young age, like within hours of being born, and humans don't have like any neck support for the first several months of life? Also, getting a human head through a pelvic canal of a horse is a bit of a problem. So, here's what I'm thinking. Horses' gestation period's 11 months, humans are only 9 months. So if we go with a 9-month gestation period on centaurs, one, they're going to be born a little premature, which will help keep everything a little smaller, and two, they'll have to be carried for the first several months of life, which will resolve the issue with the neck and give the rest of the body time to develop into the running toddler, which also generates a bunch of concerning images, but there you go. Lastly, following up with that, there's a question of whether the mammary glands work at the front or at the back. I'm going to go with the front, because as we've determined, if they're born premature, you're going to have to hold them for neck support, and that means they're going to have to be within reach of arms, not legs. So that makes the bottom half somewhat superfluous. Could they exist without magic? Sure, why not? There's really no reason that they have to be magical. Everything is perfectly biological. And there you go. Centaurs.